Hey y'all, welcome back to Teensy Vintage. This is Teresa. If you're new here, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, also welcome. Today was kind of oddball comedy of errors. I had 45 minutes before I needed to leave for work, so I said, you know what, I'm going to sit down and make something. Which, great, do that. And I pulled out this stamp set, this little cute witch that I forgot I had, and I was like, I'm gonna use this. And I pulled out my small journal and I was like, okay, we're gonna stamp this gal. And then I was like, wait a minute, no, let's do a tag instead. And so I pulled out one of those big Dana Wakley tags that comes in the big package. I don't know if they sell those anymore, but they were selling them in bulk and it was amazing. Anywho, so I was like, okay, cool. And then I was like, you know what else? I want to make this witch fly and I want to make her kind of like stand out. I was going to use some of those little cushioned stickies. So we're going to stamp her onto a sheet of light white cardstock. And I got out ye old stamping platform here, made sure she fit in the right space. And I'm going to use some archival ink in black, jet black, I think. Yes. And so here we are. We're adding lots of ink, and this is the first of several attempts. So sometimes the clear plastic stamps get a little sticky, especially if you haven't used them. And so here I am trying to get a clean print, and it's just not happening. In fact, when the stamp stuck to the paper, it moved. So I ended up with a weird, like, off-kilter impression. And I was like, well, that's not going to work. So then I was like, all right, let's turn this paper around. Well, the paper didn't want to fit. So finally, I was just like, cut the paper. Anyway, here we go. Take two. Now that there's a little bit more ink on the stamps, I was like, okay, well, maybe this time it won't be as, poor. But, oop, guess what? Still kind of poor. You can see it there that it's kind of faint. So I said, "All right, let's add some more ink." That's the beauty of the stamping platform. You can stamp it as many times as you need to. So here goes number 3. Boy, howdy. And I also knew this time that, yeah, I'm going to need to hold the paper when I pull it up. And finally, I got the stamp the way I wanted it to. And it looks good. It's crisp. And I'm happy. So we're going to put those stamps back and put it away. That's a stamp set by Picket Fence, by the way. Um, oh goodness, what is this stamp called? Stamp called, it's called Witch Please. It's a snarky little set. It's very cute. Okay, so now I'm going to cut out our cute little witch and a raven or crow and a bat. And yeah, we're going to put these aside when I'm done. But yeah, we just want to kind of get these cut out. Um, yeah, and then we'll work on the tag itself. So I will say I just kind of sat down and started doing things. This little project had no plan. this is this is pure instinct. This is some purple ink from Daler Rowney. It's FW, and it is the what color is this? This is violet. Oh no, wait, velvet violet, which I like. I think it's a very pretty color. The only downside is, and boy howdy, I make a mess, y'all. The little dropper had a hole in it, which I didn't realize when I bought it. So, and I didn't feel like taking it back to the store. I tried to fix it, but I tried drying this with a dryer and then I was like, wait a second. So I got out the little Tim Holtz air puffer and used that to blow some of the ink. And it makes those tiny little streaks, which I think are pretty cool. And then, I came back with the heat tool and dried it. Okay, here we go. Now, a nice contrasting color, and I'm like, orange. Gotta have some orange. It's a Halloween themed tag, of course. So I picked up some Amsterdam acrylic in Azo orange, And just put a little bit down. You don't need a lot. I'm going to add some water and make sure to wet my brush. And I'm going to dilute the paint here. And we're just going to go in on all the white places and turn them orange. And of course, the more water you use, the more transparent the paint gets. Kind of gives you a nice watercolor effect. Acrylic paint is very versatile. That's why we like it. And I'm just going to go in and, you know, tap my brush everywhere there's a little orange spot. And then, a few little places on top of the purple too. And yeah, when I'm happy with that, now I have a lot left over. So I pulled out this old book and we're just going to add the orange to this book page and use that in a project later down the road. There we go. Don't waste your art supplies, y'all. They're expensive. Okay. Now, clean up our station. This is looking good. We're going to dry it some more. Make sure we get all the little spots. Everything is looking good. The tag started to curl, so here I am trying to curl it the other way. That's what happens when you use a lot of wet media. Sometimes your paper will curl. It's okay. All right, now here I am rechecking our little flying witch and her animal pals, and it looks good. I'm happy. So what else do we need? Well, I think we need a stencil. Um, and I am pulling out a stencil. This one has a moon on it and some cardinal directions, which I was like, okay, whatever. I don't remember who makes this stencil, y'all. I'm sorry. But I just happened to have it, and I was like, oh, the moon. Of course, she would be flying past the moon, right? That's spooky. Cool. All right, so we're using a little Payne's Gray to fill in this moon stencil in our background. Just using a good old little cosmetics wedge, and we get some really nice coverage there. Um, and I got a tiny little bit off the stencil there, but you know what? It's okay. Not gonna worry. We're kind of working on a time crunch here. I only had so much time to get this done, and I wanted to finish it before I left for work. You know, there I am trying to cover up that tiny little smudge, and it kind of works, kind of didn't, but again, not worried about it. And then I'm going to go around all the edges with some more of that Payne's Gray just to give it some nice, crisp, clean definition. Next, that very blurry paint bottle is Lime from Dina Wakley. I wanted to color the witch and the critters, so I just took a dry brush and a very small amount of this lime green and went over all these pieces here so they would coordinate and they would stand out. Sure, you could have left them white or you could have colored them with, markers, watercolor, whatever you wanted to do. But I just chose to just make them all this lime green, which I thought was a lot of fun. So we've got all our secondary colors today. We've got orange, green, and purple, which, for Halloween works really well. There we go. Okay, next, now that we've got our little pieces, we're going to use some of these tiny square adhesive um, bits of foam, I guess. And I picked this because I wanted the little witch and the bird and the bat to kind of float, like literally float on the page, or on the tag. This is the tag. Hello. So yeah, now I'm gonna peel off all the other backings. Man, this is one time I wish that I had long nails. That would have been very helpful. Regardless, I got it done. There she is. And then we're going to put the little raven down there and the bat up there. And oh, I'm so happy. Yes, it has turned out really cute. It needed a few more things. So I'm going to do a smidge of mark making with a black Posca pen. Just put some X's, and then we got to go get a sentiment. I pulled out the Tim Holtz Halloween pack from, I don't remember, maybe it's 2 years ago. I don't know. But this one just says October, and I was like, yes, I love October. It's probably my favorite month. And then we're gonna put our date on it. And I know you're like, oh, all done, but I forgot. I was like, oh yeah, it's a tag. I need something. I need a ribbon on the top. So I pulled out some Sorry ribbon in the green that kind of mostly matches the green I already used. So kind of a lime green, a slime green, if you will. But yeah, a little bit of ribbon. There we go. Thanks for watching, y'all. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.